Hello everyone, welcome to AWS Data Engineering classes. Today we are starting with the next section of our training program, that is CICD. CID stands for Continuous Integration, Continuous Deployment, and Git also, you can say, important tool and service which we will be exploring along with CICD. So today's class is about introduction to CICD and Git. In upcoming classes, we'll talk more about AWS services related to CICD. So let's start the class with the agenda. So the agenda for today's class is overview of CI/CD. CI, which stands for continuous integration. CD, which stands for continuous deployment. We'll talk about CI/CD tools, overview of Git, Git concepts, and various Git commands. Okay. So nowadays CI/CD is very hot topic because if I talk about like few years back, 5 years or 10 years back, the project delivery, right, the deployment was very, you can say, time consuming activity. I remember like we usually had a one release in quarter, and nowadays like you can have multiple releases every single day. How is it possible? That's possible with the help of CICD, because everything is completely end to end automated. That means you don't have to do many things manually. Most of the things are automated. As a developer, you just concentrate on writing your business logic, writing your code, and everything else will be taken care by CI/CD pipeline automatically. So using CI/CD, we can have more frequent releases. Using CI, we can make incremental code change frequently and reliably. When we say continuous integration, that means if you are making a small code change, your code should be integrated continuously. As in, when you are making a small change, it should integrate with the existing code and make sure that existing code is not breaking. And there can be some test cases configured. Even the test cases can be executed just to make sure that the code change you are making is absolutely okay and that is not breaking any existing functionality. Okay. So build and test step triggered by CI ensure that code changes merged into the repo are reliable, because you may be working on only one feature, right? Just because we want to add a new feature, we cannot afford to break so many other features, right? So it's very important that before we deploy your change, we have to make sure that none of other features are breaking. So the code is then delivered quickly and seamlessly as part of CD process. Two processes are there, one is CI and one is CD. So CI will make sure that everything is fine, and CD will be ultimately deploying the new code into the deployment. So right now, these may be you may be thinking like these are very like heavy terms like continuous integration, continuous deployment. But once you will do it, once I will show you the related AWS service, and once you will do it practically, it will be more clear to you. Okay. So this is the diagram just to show you where CI and CD comes into the picture in a project lifestyle life cycle. So we start with plan. You see this plan. You come up with a plan that okay, I have to develop these many features. Then the team will start coding, and you will build the project. Build in the sense like the code you write is in a text format. That can be Java, that can be Python, that can be Node.js, SQL, or anything else, right? That text based code needs to be converted into a executable code that's known as build. And before we release that, we need to test it. We have to make sure that all the expected functionality are working fine. So test phase will be happening, and every test is going fine. In that case, we are ready to release. Release means you are ready to deploy this code into the next version, I mean next environment. Suppose production, so you will be deploying it. It will be operation, that means it is in use. If it's a e-commerce website, means your end user, your consumer will start using the newer version of your code, and you will be monitoring for some time, because it may be possible that newer version of code may cause some problem. So you need to monitor it. Everything will go fine. in case you find some bug, or it's not only about bug, suppose you find some opportunity to enhance something, you come up with some more idea to enhance your product, to add some more new features. In that case you will again plan. So this is a continuous cycle. With the help of nowadays every project is going with like agile methodology. If you are aware about agile methodology, that means every sprint we will deploy, or you can say we will come up with a new enhancement so that your client can see the changes in incremental mode. Because suppose your client has given you some requirement, and client will say okay, you complete this project in next 1 year. So deploying that after 1 year is not a good idea, because sometime client is not a technical person, right? Client might have requested for something, and we may end up developing something else. That may be possible. Just because to avoid that scenario, we start with smaller deployment. Every 2 week we will meet client, will show him or her that we have developed this part of the project. Any feedback, client will say no, 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 I didn't ask for this, it should be in this way, or let's skip this, I don't need this feature, let's go with that feature. So every sprint small increment will happen, client will meet, client will give you the feedback, and next sprint will come up with the enhanced or better version of the product. This way we'll keep on going and we will keep on enhancing our product. So this is about CI/CD process. I am stopping here for 2 minutes before we move to the next slide. In case you are having any doubt, or if you want to add something to this, you are free to do that. Okay, seems like there is no doubt, so moving to the next one. This is again more detailed diagram, more I would say technical diagram as well. You will be writing your code as a individual developer, and you will commit your code. I hope you are aware about basic terminology like commit and all that stuff. Commit means you will save your code, and at the same time there can be some related code. There are some other team members, they have also written some code. So your code change should be integrated with your other code, and that part comes here, CI pipeline, continuous integration pipeline. So as soon as you will commit your code, it will be building the code. After that, unit test. Unit test means individual functionality should work fine. So there are some test case written just to check whether individual functionality is working fine or not. And if that individual functionality is working fine, there will be some integration test. Integration test will basically check whether one functionality is interacting with another functionality properly or not. Sometimes individual functionality is working fine, but when they are interacting with each other, that's not working fine. Even that's required, right? If two functionality are not able to communicate with each other, then we cannot proceed. So if any of the unit test is failing, or any of the integration test is failing, means your CI/CD pipeline will fail. That simply means we will not be moving to the next one, that is CD pipeline. That means if your code is not integrated successfully, will not move ahead with the deployment. But luckily, if everything goes fine, then the CD pipeline will come into the picture. Continuous deployment pipeline. What it will do? It will review the code. That can be a manual process as well. Your team lead, your manager, your any senior guy in your team, they will review the code changes you have made, and then they will be deploying this into staging environment. We usually don't deploy directly into production. That's not a good idea. Rather, we deploy into staging environment. You perform some QA, you perform some UAT, you check few more things, and if everything is going fine, we are good to deploy into production. So if you look at this diagram, the user will do only first part, committing the code. That's all. Everything else is completely automated. Build process will automatically happen. Unit test will automatically run. Integration test will automatically run. Review can be manual. Sometime manual, sometime automated. There can be few tools, security tools available in the market, which are capable of reviewing your code. Those tools will quickly review your code, and if everything goes wrong, they will stop the pipeline, they will send an email with a detailed message and something. And after that, deploying into staging, deploying into production is everything automated. Today we'll talk only about concepts. Tomorrow I will talk about the AWS services which is providing the CI/CD functionality, and then I will show you how these things are automatically integrated. Completely automated. Okay, so let's move to the next slide. Look at this slide. There are a lot of you can say tools are listed here, and all those tools are not AWS tools, because AWS is one of the cloud service provider. There are many more cloud service provider in the market, and it's not always about cloud service provider. There can be some third party application providing a particular functionality. Okay, so you can see here, if I talk about the coding part, Git is there, Jira is there, and Confluence is there. These three are definitely not the AWS services. These are third party services providing the code related services. We will be using Git. I will show you shortly. If I talk about build, SBT, which stands for Simple Build Tool, and Maven are famous build tools. If you have ever worked on any Java project, you might have heard about Maven. That's very common a build tool for Java. If I talk about test, SE, which stands for Selenium, and JUnit, these are like famous testing tools. If I talk about release, Jenkins and CodeShip are famous release tools. If you look at monitor, Nagios, Splunk, Datadog, these are third party tools, but specifically for monitoring. For operation, Chef, Ansible, and Kubernetes. And coming to deploy, DocIS, Docker, and AWS. So this is not a complete list. And as I told you, CI/CD is not a AWS service. CI/CD is a general concept, how to integrate continuously and how to deploy continuously and how to achieve CI/CD. There are many ways to achieve that. You can achieve using CI/CD service. Sorry, you can use AWS services to achieve CI/CD. You can use other third-party services as well to achieve CI/CD service. If your friends are working on Google Cloud or Microsoft Azure, or they are suppose not even working on cloud, they may also be using CI/CD services. Okay, so I'm stopping here. In case you are having any doubt till this slide, you can ask me. Okay, so moving to the next part of the today's class, that is Git overview. Again, Git is not a AWS service, it's again a third party service. But if you are working on any coding project, you will be definitely using some code versioning tool. 80 or 90% chances are there you may be using Git. That's very common, very famous. Okay, so what Git is and how to use it, let me show you. So maintaining the code on local system is very risky. Yeah, that's true. Suppose there are 5 team members and every team member is managing the code on the local system. That's not good. Your laptop can get crash. Laptop can be stolen. Laptop can be some physical damage, right? So in that case, you will be losing your code. That code can be a hard work of last 1 month, right? So at the end of the day, as a best practice, let's commit your code into some Git repository. Git repository is nothing but a centralized server. Every team member can store the code over there. It's on the cloud. It's not on any uh, team member's laptop, right? So ultimately, your code is safe. Developers may be located globally. Collaborating the code may be difficult. That's also possible. I'm working on one functionality. You are working on another functionality. If your code will be on your system and my code will be on my system, how it will be working together? Definitely, some point of time, we have to combine our code. So, with this Git concept, team members, whether they are globally located or they are at the same location, they can collaborate, they can easily manage their code. Okay. So before we proceed, there is a doubt from Manju. Let me read that out. Most of the things are done in AWS console. How will we move the code to next layer? Can you please give an insight? Okay. So till last month, till November or December, there was a service in AWS with the name code commit. Code commit was equivalent to Git. Code commit was, you can say, same thing as Git. They were able to manage your code, but somehow they have discontinued that service. If I will provide you my old class recording, you will find that I am exploring about code commit, but now the code commit is not part of our AWS console. Let me show you if I can show that. Give me a moment. Okay, give me a moment. I'm logging in into my AWS.